talk about leadership, right? Anyone, even if you don't have people directly report to you, you have a decision to make about whether you want people to be open to you, whether you want them to share information with you, whether you want them to kind of naturally care about your role and what you're doing and how your piece fits in. Maybe they precede you in the process. Maybe they follow you. But the more they know and care about you and your part, the more successful you will be. So it's all the same skills, whether you're leading a team of 500, 5, or none. How you choose to show up creates how people feel in your presence. It also creates how people feel in your absence. So they're always perceiving of you. When you show up with care, they will know. It may live in this unworded pre-conscious state that they have, but they know. And it changes how they show up for you.
Welcome to the Grow and Learn podcast, your go-to source for expertise and insights on a variety of topics: business growth, leadership, technology, personal and business finance, and more. We've curated a vast network of business experts ready to address your company's most pressing challenges. From corporate growth strategy to leadership, marketing strategy, sales strategy, branding, customer relations, technology, AI, IT security, and beyond, we connect you to the best experts for your needs. Reach out to us for more information or schedule a call at GrowNLearn.org to explore how we can support you. In this few minutes of talk and getting to know each other, she exposed her true self, and this is what we're going to be talking about: the how to show up truly rather than just showing up. I'm talking to Marcy Axelrod, who's a management consultant for more than 20 years. She's a speaker, TEDx speaker, an author, an awesome lady. You will see she's very beautiful. She's a neuroscientist as well, and she's done research for 20 years on the impact of showing up truly. So enjoy this talk. Welcome, Marcy.
Thank you so much, Zarina. It is such an honor and a pleasure to be with you today.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine, Marcy. Really, reading and going through your videos and your background, it's truly a pleasure to have you on Grow and Learn, and thanks for joining. So we see on the screen the title of your book, How We Choose to Show Up. It's a result of a 20-year-long research.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about this? What does it mean to show up? What is the book all about?
Yes, I'll tell you what the book's all about. And then if you wanted to hear how I got into it and why showing up is my thing, I can certainly relate that. Yeah, I mean, the bottom line about showing up is that there's this invisible continuum that exists all around us, and it always has. And it's levels of showing up. And the moment that I describe what the levels are, you're going to think, yep. I get it. Like, I've kind of known that, but no one's put words to it. So level 1 is just barely there. You're disengaged, you don't care, you don't see the impact. Your attention kind of comes and goes, but nothing really seems to matter. And that can be because you're burned out, you're exhausted, you're sick. There are a lot of valid reasons to be there. You're grieving something, you're steeped in fear. So there's barely there. That's level 1. Level 2 is what I call just showing up. And I say it with a little like zing there, because it's not truly showing up, because you're just showing up. You're just going through the motions. What a lot of people say is, we're just sleepwalking through life most of the time. So I call that level 2 just showing up. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means you're kind of busy. You just want to get stuff done, and you're very narrowly focused. You're just moving from one thing to the next. Boom, 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 boom. What you're not doing, however, is stepping back and perceiving, why is this meaningful? How do I want people to feel in my presence? What really is the significance of what I'm doing? Whether it's staring at a spreadsheet and moving numbers, walking into a meeting, emptying the dishwasher, it doesn't matter. But what quality of attention are we paying? Now, our default is level 2, just showing up. Why? Because you kind of wake up and the first thing that you do is, okay, you got to shut off that, unpleasant sound that kind of jarred us awake. And then what? You drag yourself out of bed. You brush your teeth, you put on some clothes, right? We start going through the motion, and unfortunately, then concerns show up. What time is it? I have to do this. I'm thinking about that. Is there a child upstairs? I have to help them. Right? There's stuff, and we're in more of a just get it done mode, right? Anyway, level 2, my research shows that 80% of us are just showing up 80% of the time. Level 3 is what you referred to, Serena, as truly showing up, and that's what I call it. And the reason I use truly is because there's an honesty. There's an honesty to it. There's an integrity. There's a depth. And by the way, we're going to talk about depth because depth means a lot of things. It means we're attending with the system in our right hemisphere, which is the one that's connected with the more. This system is the one that lives at the top of the mountain, and it's looking down and it's saying, whoa, now I'm seeing how things are flowing. I'm seeing how it's connected. Instead of being deep and narrow, our focus is much broader, and it brings us into more of a connectedness and an interwoven flow with the rest of what's really going on. So level 1, level 2, level 3, just to make it quick and easy, barely there, just showing up, and then truly showing up. And the reality is everyone is at some level, every moment, and so is everything else. So is the weather. So is the politics at the company that you're walking into. So is the feeling of stress or support in your home. Everything is showing up at some level every moment. And here's just the key thing, and then I'm going to stop here because I really want to understand what you're thinking because I can feel it from your expression. It's a permission system in many, many ways because you get to choose where you are, and everything has permission to show up exactly where it is. In some places, the leaves are green and robust, and in others, they're brown and crinkled, right? On the earth, depending on where you are. And on some places, there are no trees and there's just sand or dirt. Everything gets to show up exactly as it is. And we get to choose where we are and how we move. And that's why the book is it's our process of choice. So talk to me here. I probably went on more than I needed to, but what are your thoughts?
It was a needed introduction, Marcy. Fantastic. Okay, so while you were thinking, there were like two major areas of thinking. First was, what do you think of the morning routine? Does that like secure you for a day of truly showing up, or is it like a constant moment rendering and constant being in the process of awareness or in the state of awareness? And I know I'm not supposed to ask two questions in a row, but I'm still going to do it because you asked me. That was what I was thinking. The second question is, how is it really different from the work of the German guy with the now? What was his name?
We can look it up and get his name right. So you can do that while I'm answering your question, because I want to show you something. So you were saying in the morning, your first question was in the morning when you're kind of in this default mode of getting stuff done.
Yes, because you gave the example you gave the example of what if you start the morning with the wrong foot out of the bed? What if you start with the right foot?
Yeah, I'm glad you. Yeah, so I'm glad you brought this up. There is no wrong foot and right foot. It isn't so much that I'm saying you can start on the wrong foot. When we wake up, very few of us wake up and lay in bed and are in this open perceptual system over in our right hemisphere. We aren't just laying there and just feeling one with the universe. We're just not. Now, some of us are, but I think it's the person who probably meditates and has a very gradual pace through life and grew up with that way of being. Most of us in the modern world, especially those of us, living near a city or in a city, wake up more in this rapid flow of have to do this, get it done, get it done. Now, we can switch at any moment. I want to give you a visual of what these three things look like. And I will send you this for the show notes, but tell me if you can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
So there's level 1, barely there, level 2, just showing up, and level 3, truly showing up. And this is the system that's with us every moment of every day. It's the invisible thing, and everybody is on that continuum, and everything is on that continuum. Every flow, every process has some level at which it's showing up. We can decide, we can switch how we are being in the moment, and we can switch into level 3. And there are a lot of really easy and frankly quick ways to do it. And they can become habits in a very natural way. I can get into what these tips are, but essentially what I'd like to describe first, though, is what it feels like, so that you can take note of what level you're in on the show up continuum at every time, at every moment. Is that an okay thing to get into?
That's an okay thing. In the meantime, I looked up the author that I meant. It was Eckhart Tolle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle. Yes.
Eckhart Tolle.
The Power of Now. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Eckhart Tolle talks about presencing. Truly showing up completely embraces that. I mean, everything that's out there fits within this model because this is kind of a model of everything. It is one way of perceiving how life works, how perceptions work, how the state of our body is showing up to the moment. So there's a lot of overlap, okay? But we talk about it in a very different way. I specifically take a cognitive model approach to explain this. I put visuals around this so that, oh, wait, not that book, this one, so that it helps people, because I simplify it into 3 levels. And then, of course, there are 3 roles that we're always into. And it's helpful for people to understand this model of how humans are designed to show up. Within level 1, we're just in one role. When we are barely there, our mirror is really reflecting ourselves back. We're a self. We're an individualized self. We very much feel separate from just the word individual. It shows we are inside, right? This is what people talk about, like that echo chamber in your brain of this stressor and this concern, and you can't get out of it. And you feel stuck. You might want to do something else with your life, but you can't quit this job because you're relying on your, paycheck, or you can't end this marriage, or you feel very stuck. That's level 1, barely there. And it's really only being in one of the 3 roles in which nature created human life. We're also very much in a situational role. And I call that being a situation member. And the reason that's such a big deal, Zarina, right now, your expression and how you're holding yourself is taking up inhabitants, not just in my mind, but in my body. I'm feeling you. I'm feeling the intensity of your presencing. I'm feeling your interest. I'm feeling the effort of your absorbing these ideas. And when I change how I'm speaking, I see it in you. And you reciprocally are living in me, and you're feeling it in me. This is what it is to be a member of a situation. It's not what people think. It isn't you walk into a room and you're just there, bam, you're in a meeting. There is so much depth. The chemistry of your body is shifting because of me, right? It can happen because of the air in a room. It can happen because of the depth of respect or the depth of neglect. It doesn't have to be with another human. It can be with a physical space. It can be with a fear that you have. You can be in a situation with a concern. So our situation member role is very real, and it needs to be recognized as separate from the individual. It's a separate role. And then there's a third role in which nature created human beings to show up and to thrive. And that is being a member of something larger. It used to be called a tribe. I call it society. So we are at once an individualized self, a member of a situation, and a member of society. So we are in those three roles. As we add our situation member role to our self role, now we're in level 2 showing up. As we add all three, now we're in level 3 showing up. Why? Because once you add a depth of presencing within your situation member role and your societal member role, your mirror is naturally turned outward. You're absorbing not just what's immediately around you, but you're absorbing the more that's out there. You are recognizing what is the culture of the company that you're in that is changing you? What are the norms of society that has led me and you to show up a certain way? We are both inside. We are both choosing to be on a podcast. We are both wearing certain clothes that kind of gives a given message. All of this is because society told, right? We are a member of something beyond us. Why am I choosing to write a book? It's not because we're living in caves. It's because society has said, if you write a book, you can put your ideas into the hands of billions of people. And that's why we have this podcast also, right? So we're in 3 roles, and we can choose how we're showing up at every moment. So I hope I've given you both an answer to how it's different from Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, how it adds to it, how there's a visual model. And I have a lot of images that are very memorable. So in addition to this one, I want to show you one other. And then I'm going to explain a very key thing that happens as we move up the continuum. And that there's a skill for each role. And I'm not exactly finding the specific chart that I'm looking for. So you're welcome to respond while I look at this next chart.
While you are looking for the visual, Marcy, what is the process that we need to go through in order to reach this level 3?
What is the process? Okay, you're going to recognize this as, yes, Marcy, that makes so much sense. Makes so much sense. The first thing you have to do to shift to be able to use that right hemispheric attention system, you can't be in just get it done mode. You can't be
Are we
rushing.
assuming that we're starting from level 1 or from level 2, which is the
anywhere to get
into
to be in level 3, and the thing is, everyone knows this. And once I explain it, you're going to say, yep, I got it. First of all, I'll explain what you can't be doing. You can't be stressed. You can't be rushed. You can't be like ravenously hungry. You can't be distracted. Okay. You have to reset, because you need the right nervous system to be engaged. You need the blood to be going to the right places. You need your mind to be clear. So the first thing that you do is you pause. And I'll tell you, and at the end of my TED Talks, I introduce a very easy thing that I'll share with you now. I've gotten very good feedback on this. Switch into your sensing system. It's a way to quiet the default mode of the brain. And an easy way to do it is simply trace a 3 for level 3 showing up on your palm. And what you're doing is, instead of being in the wandering mind or the mind that's very focused on something else, you're bringing yourself into your sensing system.
Do you need to say it out loud as well? Do you need to say out loud 3 while you're touching your palm?
No, what you want to be doing is have all of your attention going to your palm. And what you start to recognize is, whoa, how miraculous that you're feeling this. And then you start to perceive more deeply, wow, there's a temperature aspect as well. And your fingers can just barely move, and you can perceive that. So you start to live and be in presence with the miraculous, awe-inspiring system that we have that senses temperature and pressure and movement, because we are not inert. Everything about our body is designed to sense everything else that's going on, right? Our skin is a permeable membrane, as is our right brain, our eyes, our ears, everything that we are exists as a sensing system. So going back into that sensing system in this way, and I mean, you can touch yourself anywhere. Taps into this. The point is, what you're doing is quieting the mind, quieting the body. Your breathing will shift. You'll start to just reset. And then all of a sudden, the more that's out there shows up for you. And I'm going to tell you what happens when you're next with another human being. What's going to happen is something that I'm describing here. As you switch from your self role into your self and situation member role, and then your self situation and societal member role, what's going to start to happen is you go from self-focused to noticing. This is your self mirror turning outward to noticing. From noticing, you start to tune in. And then once you tune in, you feel with. But it doesn't stop there. There's one more level. Once you feel with, you naturally enact care. Are you with me with how powerful this is? So that's what happens as you move up the continuum and you embrace all three roles in which human beings are designed to show up.
Mm-hmm. This very much actually reminds me of the introduction facilitation that I do in my other on my other platform, HealnLearn, where I do courses that were originally based on the Silva method, but this particular entry point was not taken by the Silva method. And the reason why I asked you whether you speak it out loud is because in the methodology that I use, I actually use all of the senses, because logically speaking, some people perceive better with sound, with visual, so you have to visualize, hear. Also, I don't ask them to touch, but to imagine the sense of touch and the smell, and just basically plug in all the senses. So it's a similar methodology. Yes. The only thing is it doesn't use this trigger, but trigger can be used with the 3-finger technique, which Prompts. Is known. Yeah.
But so. Mm-hmm. So I love that. I also talk about using all of the senses that we have. And then of course, that's where the premonitions show up, the intuitions show up. And then you start to notice it and things manifest for you. I use the phrase showing up for which, because they just do. Why? Because you're perceiving of them with your open interconnected system of attending. And everything has, when you start with touch, while I didn't talk about it, your other systems show up for you more, right? There's a pressure, there's a motion that we perceive, and then maybe there's a scent, maybe there's a timbre, right? Which is a word typically used with reference to music, to auditory stimuli. But there can be a timbre, if you will, and then you get this kinesthetic merging of the senses, right? And the flow of the tree that's in front of me also becomes something that I can almost smell, even though it shows up as a visual, but I know that there's more, right? So anyway, we feel more alive. It's the opposite.
All of the information that it carries. You receive the insight about the particular thing that you're observing or taking in.
I mean, in daily life, what we're really talking about is switching out of going through the motion, just getting stuff done, not feeling like there's a ton of meaning, to being more alive. And the moment you even start to get into that level 3, the more shows up for you. It isn't like pushing a boulder uphill. It's almost the opposite. You're opening yourself such that people show up differently for you. What I'm often told is that a genuineness is perceived from others because you're now able to be authentic, and they reciprocate a care even before you know you're showing up caring.
That's true. That's true. They show up differently before you take any action. But does this system, what you choose, propel you to take an action in a different way, to show up physically other than like with the mindset and energetically? Do you actually do something different?
Oh, absolutely. You find you do different things because instead of just going through the motions, you're perceiving of something different. You literally behave in a different way. You will make different choices. Your day will naturally take a different path.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking different things. Imagination shows up for you. Creativity is naturally present when, instead of being in this deep, narrow hole, our whole perception system is one that flows. It's more open. So now we make connections that we didn't make in the past.
So you're basically calling yourself back to your body. To be present here right now, and at the same time you're turning yourself towards the world around you to perceive.
You're opening your perception system, and in doing so, the world shows up differently for you because you're noticing and tuning in and feeling with. The disconnectedness that is, and loneliness and lack of meaning, that is kind of like the sufferance of the world right now, right? All of that starts to heal because what we're doing is we're shifting out of this kind of map of life that we're living in, which is like a flat piece of paper without depth. We're moving out of the map into the territory of the experiential world. The left hemisphere can't perceive depth. For the left hemisphere, you're just kind of stuck in this unresponsive, dead cardboard world or life, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of look back and they're like, what have I been doing for 20 years? Do I really know my children? Do I really know this person who's my spouse? And you can suddenly start to recognize a new way of showing up, and it naturally happens. One tip is to get into your body. Obviously, meditation does this. Yoga will do this. Anything that switches us back into the depth of our perceiving existence will do this.
Well, if I may add something here, meditation will do it and yoga will do it, but it will do it for the moment while you're doing meditation and while you're doing yoga. But for the rest of the day, you would need to be consciously aware. So that's when you come in and you say, choose constantly. Show up and choose.
Yeah. So you really just brought up something really important. And I want to hear from you about this. How do you invoke the choosing, the consciousness? Do you put something in, do you have, a notification every 45 minutes? Like how do you recommend that people do it?
I don't have any prompts or anything that no snoozing on what I need to do. That there are many methods where I could do this, but I am actually I don't like rules too much. So I don't like following every hour by the hour rules, although I've given it as a suggestion to clients of mine. You could do this, but I personally don't like it. So what I do is to just remind myself of what I believe is, it's actually my universal philosophy, that we are a fractal. We are just a part of the big soul, and I can just look at it as creator, and I'm looking at the other parts of creator. This is what I remind myself from time to time whenever I snap away and start going on this flat piece of paper, as you described.
Right.
So to move myself from there, I recall this thought.
Right, right. So you use a cognitive approach, which is based in a belief system.
Exactly.
Right, of how the world works, right?
Yeah.
So there are many ways of doing it. Just a kind of a tactical, practical thing, I've had people say, Marcy, I printed out your continuum and I put it on the back of my phone. And every time I see it, it's like, I defaulted. I'm just showing up again. Like I'm in level 2, right? And then the moment you see it, you can just reset and just pause. There are 2 ways to perceive of our moments, and I want your listeners to have this concept. There's a way to prepare in advance that creates a grounding, which is actually the skill for our self role. The way to do that is to have a practice that is ongoing, that helps you to default more to level 3. This is, your meditation, yoga, kind of living with a gradualness, gratitude, where you really feel how much your family means to you, or something that you're truly grateful for means. That creates a grounding where the baseline is closer to a level 3 and less toward barely there. That's one thing to do. But our moments are impromptu, right? You can ready yourself for a meeting all day long, but then the meeting happens and it's an impromptu thing. This is when you're in your situational role, which is a dynamic thing. So to a certain extent, the preparation's there, but to a certain extent, it goes out the window because there's also a responsive or even reactive mode. The way to truly show up with that is to recognize that it's happening, and to as best you can ask yourself, I'm showing up right now. What's my choice? What's my choice? The more you live in an awareness of what your body's doing, whoa, like what he just said, that felt rude to me, or I like that she's on board, or wow, my child's really having a tough day. Like the more that we can attune to what's going on, the more awareness we have to bring that presence of, I'm choosing how I'm showing up. I'm choosing. The reality is, we're flowing, we're coming and going, we're just showing up, we're truly showing up, we're just showing up. Like that's how it happens. So we can't live in level 3. What we can do is bring a noticing within our level 2 that helps us reset, and then we'll go back. I've got a chart that shows exactly this in chapter 1, and it basically shows without, and I really can't see the chart and have it here, but before you start to practice truly showing up, you've got a volatility. And the more you practice, the less volatile things are, and the more you're in level 3 more of the time. People say, like, Marcy, it feels so good that I notice that each day I'm naturally resetting my system so that I can choose. Like, whoa, like I'm being defensive. I'm not really listening. Got it. Okay, what did that person really say? Like, do I need to feel attacked? So that's how it works in the real world. And for a leader of a team.
Before we go to that, because I do want to ask you about the usefulness of this method to a corporate environment. But before we go there, may I ask you something at this point? There are moments in life where, or like, let's call them periods, that we just go through. They're not always under our control. Nothing is fully under our control. At least this is my belief. We can navigate to a certain degree, but there comes a time. I've been meditating for more than 20 years now with the Silver Method and the version that I developed myself. And I can tell you that there come times when I'm unable to, or I think I'm unable to. Not because I don't know how, or I could not force myself to relax, because I could. But the underlying energy, I would call it energy for the lack of a better word, is just not perceptive to my meditation at the time. There's something else that my mind, my body wants to do at this point in time or in this period of time. So what happens when you say, yeah, do this on a regular basis, but you're not in such a period when the life circumstances or the energetic circumstances just lead you elsewhere? I don't believe that there's any method that can fix everybody or that is helpful to anybody. So what kind of a condition do we need to meet for your method to be beneficial?
Yeah, well, it's always going to be beneficial. Always.
If we could apply it.
I'm sorry?
If we are able to apply it.
Yeah. So there are seasons of life, right? And in a given season, we may just be in just showing up or barely there more often than we want. As long as we are doing our best, that is a version of truly showing up. That is our truly showing up for who we are right then and right there. And so it's an acceptance system. If you fight against it, you're nowhere. So you have to say, wow, right now, it's really hard for me to not just be agitated or concerned or filled with fear. And that's okay, because the moment that we say that's okay, we're already moving up to the right on the continuum toward a truly showing up state. There are 4 things that really, I think, challenge humans on a day-to-day basis. And it's feeling things like, I'm lesser than, I'm better than, I deserve, or I need to be seen as, right? And then there's fear too. The more we can recognize the presence of any of those things or something similar, the more we can then say, where is it showing up within me? And do I really need to feel this way? Right? Can I let it go for right now? Because all of those things are self-focused. Let's think about our situation, member role, and be present. And let's think about our societal member role. When you really understand what a situation is and what society is, which we didn't talk about, when you really understand what our societal member role is, you won't be stuck nearly as often just in your self role. So you naturally live further up on the continuum.
I love this clarification. Just to mention, because I was wondering, what if people still need to do some work on getting rid of their childhood baggage or whatever, reprogramming everything that is bothering them. People suffer from anxiety, all these kinds of personal packages that they have. But yes, I'm now curious to hear about the importance of the societal view.
I mean, society creates the beliefs that we have about who we are. It creates the beliefs about how we succeed. It creates the definition of success. And I mean, Lord knows what society is teaching us today. I mean, it's just lies. Success is money. Success is having a certain possession or a set of possessions that look a certain way. I mean, this is ludicrous. Like, it's just complete garbage. It's
a control system. It's a control system. It's a control system.
It's a control system, right? And we need to get out of it. I mean, I lost the ability to speak when I was 6, and I don't know how much stuttering is showing up in your listeners' living room now, or their car or AirPods, but the confluence for me of moving from one place to another when I was 6, the genetics that predisposed me, and my parents just they both had new jobs. My sister could have cared less about me. And it was my call for help. I wasn't one to act out. So I acted in and I took it out on myself, and my throat started to lock and I couldn't speak. And that was my way of saying, I need help. Look, like, please attend to me. And I couldn't speak for 20 years. And it's only recently that a therapist helped me. She said, when did you kind of stop stuttering? And I said, well, I didn't stop. My throat still locks, but I kind of sounded more fluent and fluid when I went to college. And she said, why? And I said, because my definition of success for my life at that time was I want to show up on a college campus as a student, not a stutterer. And I'm like, trying to keep the tears from streaming here.
Very emotional. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she said, you didn't need the identity of a stutterer anymore. And I mean, this woman didn't even know me. It was like meeting number 1 as I was testing out, because I needed a family systems person, because my daughter just got back from almost a year in a mental health treatment facility. So we needed a family systems person. And she said, you didn't need that crutch anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's why you were able to let it go. And I mean, it was just like, whoa, are we all doing these things to ourselves? Is this but this is how the life of the past continues to live in us. And of course, our body keeps the score, right? If you've read the blue book, Vandra Kolk
I have not
wrote this. And it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And he's the gentleman at Harvard who runs the trauma center there. But just getting at what you were saying about our past it is right here. Mm-hmm. This morning, my daughter had a sore throat, and I said, I want to do something for you before you leave. I know you don't drink tea or coffee. You don't want this stuff, but what can I do for you? And she said, Mom, I really would like some tea. And I said to her, I couldn't leave without saying to her, my mom and dad were well gone from the house an hour before I left for school. There was no one there to do things for me, right? The tears are coming right back. There was no one there. And I said, it's really important. I really want to do something for you right here, right now. And that was 12-year-old Marcy living with the recognition of what I wasn't sad then, but there was some sadness. I wasn't even able to perceive it. And it is still there. There was no one there when I left for school for 15 years straight. And anyway, so for your question, like, the more we recognize these things, what are we feeling right now? The more we will readily be able to ask to show up the way that we choose. I talk about that in chapter 9. It's on grounding, which is the role for ourselves. Each one of our roles has a skill: grounding in ourselves, readiness for our situations. And the word readiness, there's a lot there. There's a chapter on each. And then a word I call all intelligence for our societal role. And with that's connectedness with intent to serve, because our mirrors like this.
I suggest we move on now to your work for corporations. Not because I don't want to go deeper, but because I want to have you back and go deeper in the subject of neuroscience, in the development of your methodology, how you did the research, but yeah, let's go a bit higher level first, and then we go deeper in part 2 of the conversation.
I'd be happy to. Yeah. So, I mean, in corporate work, so let's just talk about leadership.
I'm excited to introduce a groundbreaking service we're offering in collaboration with our partners, GrowNLearn. This service is designed to help you identify bottlenecks and uncover low-hanging fruits for innovation within your organization. GrowNLearn performs a comprehensive assessment through a digital questionnaire that we distribute to your employees. The result is a detailed dashboard that highlights key innovation indicators and areas where improvement is needed. Armed with these insights, we from GrowNLearn will connect you to the ideal consultant, trainer, coach, or speaker from our global network of top-tier experts to address any gaps and drive growth. Don't forget to check out the links in the description for special offers from our partners, including a free LinkedIn profile assessment. Now enjoy the next segment of this GrowNLearn podcast episode.
Let's just talk about leadership, right? Anyone, even if you don't have people directly report to you, you have a decision to make about whether you want people to be open to you, whether you want them to share information with you, whether you want them to kind of naturally care about your role and what you're doing and how your piece fits in. Maybe they precede you in the process. Maybe they follow you. But the more they know and care about you and your part, the more successful you will be. So it's all the same skills, whether you're leading a team of 500, 5, or none. So what it comes down to, how you choose to show up creates how people feel in your presence. It also creates how people feel in your absence. So they're always perceiving of you. Now, if you care about them, this is the skill that I've called all intelligence, right? It's connectedness with intent to serve, right? When you show up with care, they will know. It may live in this unworded pre-conscious state that they have, but they know. And it changes how they show up for you. I'm going to give you a few words that make this more concrete. Trust, genuineness, salience, how quickly you show up in their minds, right? When they feel these things, there will be a loyalty. You will retain your team. People will be less likely to quit, to leave, to have one foot out the door. There's a large global hospitality company. It's a brand that everyone knows, but I'm not going to mention it because I want to share a story. There's a leader of a team, and people were calling into her team meetings when they were still technically on vacation. So there was someone who was in the customs line coming back from a trip. Their family was in tow. And they called into the team meeting before they were technically back. And the question was, hey, if you're still on vacation, that's all fine. And the person said, no, like I really want to be here and it's okay. And this is, my crew and my 3 kids and my spouse. And they cared so much about the leader of the team and about the team that they wanted to work even when they weren't on the clock. That is a culture that I call an all-intelligent culture. People care about each other. The work has meaning. There's a support and a trust. It's an unconditional positive regard, to invoke the ideas of Carl Rogers. In HBR, what they call this is interpersonal warmth. You know what? I'm forgetting the specific phrase, but it's a very similar thing where basically you and the culture you create becomes magnetic. And it's based in care and in trust and in how you're choosing to show up.
So the work that you do in corporations, is it individual mentoring and coaching or speaking? How do you work with corporations or with individuals?
I mean, it's been everything from Marcy, how do I beat this main competitor? Some very large high-tech companies have asked me, and I had teams in Asia and teams in Europe and teams in the US. And, what it really comes down to, though, is understanding, what do people want to achieve so that they feel they've succeeded? And the way that you answer that, it's based in how do they want to feel? And does the achievement take the form of something that's personal for themselves or something that's tactical within the business world. And once you understand what they want to achieve, you can kind of ask them to force rank various things. So Apple with the iPod asked people to force rank outcome statements of what people wanted to achieve, like make it easy for me to put my music in the desired order for listening. When you have a bunch of statements like that, and by the way, it's always about minimize the time and minimize the effort. Once you know what people want to get done, you can help them get it done. And that shows that you care and you understand. And really what you're doing is building trust. And it's power and warmth together. And those are big terms that we can talk about another time. There's power. So you've got the legitimate authority, the positional authority, but also the interpersonal authority based in care. And you have the warmth. That's the care. So when you have those things and you understand what people really want to achieve, you can help them. So call it leadership, call it strategy, call it coaching of executives. People can call it whatever they want. I do it both individually and I do it with teams and I do it locally and globally.
Fantastic. Great. Shall we leave the rest for part 2, Marcy? I think this was a quite deep introduction. Is there anything else that you would like to share for this session?
Yeah, 2 quick things. First, really easy to find, choosetoshow-up.com, and also the book, it's a bestseller. The book is out there on Amazon, the ebook's out there too. The other thing that I want to share is we didn't get into the fact that this is nature's model of how humans are designed to show up. And I talk about the science and, the physics, the biology, the evolutionary background of this. And that's a very important thing. This isn't just a model out of nowhere from my head. It's in how humans are designed. And we can get into that next time.
Yes, I think it makes sense to talk more about your research, because I'm also curious to know how this all enveloped. I know you were a management consultant in large corporations, investment banks, I believe in New York, then you were in technology in Silicon Valley. So I do want to know about your story of how you transitioned, how you did research.
Yeah.
Let's leave it for next time. Fantastic. To keep the suspense.
Sure.
Marcy, thank you. Once again, your website is?
Choosetoshow-up.com.
Choosetoshow-up.com. Fantastic. Yep. It was a true pleasure. Thank you so much.
Serena, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Grow and Learn. We hope that you found our podcast informative, engaging, and inspiring. Our mission is to help you keep growing and learning, and we hope that our conversations and insights have provided you with practical advice and useful perspectives. If you're looking for personalized support and guidance to help you achieve your personal or professional growth objectives, I offer a range of services to help. As a trusted management partner and mentor, I work with businesses in the process of transformation, looking for new streams of business, as well as M&A. With an extensive professional network of experts and mentors, I can bring on board the right person or team based on the specific needs of the company I'm working with. To learn more about the services I offer and how I can help you achieve your goals, visit my website at GrowNLearn.org. You can also reach out to me via email or social media. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this episode of Grow and Learn, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us, and it helps us to continue to create content that is relevant and valuable to our listeners. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to sharing more insights and perspectives with you in the future.